Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Heavy Repping. My name is John Davidson, and what follows is an article entitled An Introduction to Vintage Guitar Picks, written by Joe Macey, published here in part at his request and in full by Heavy Repping. If you would like any more information on vintage picks, please visit Joe's YouTube channel at the link in the description, or visit heavyrepping.com for the complete text-based article. Part 7. Impressed Logo Era and Conclusion. Photo A. Cristofaro. Oldest verifiable pick known to exist. After Cristofaro left Italy and travelled Europe entertaining audiences with his brilliant mandolin playing. He settled down in Paris and set up shop as a teacher. In 1881 he released his first instruction manual for mandolin. It contained an illustration of a pick having the same shape as the one shown here. His second manual was published in 1883. By 1890 he was dead. As a mandolin instructor, it would have been a priority to ensure his students had the correct mandolin pick, and fortunately he left little guesswork as to its origin. The word l'incassable translates from French to English as indestructible. The material is celluloid. This is one of only 2 Cristofaros known to exist. Photo B. The shapes here are specific to their respective instruments as advertised in old catalogues. There were a variety of shapes of the no-logo variety advertised as banjo picks during the 1920s, but banjo picks appearing with an artist or brand name were always short ovals and stout, mandolin picks oval as well, but elongated. The 2 on the right, of course, are standard 351 shaped guitar pick shapes as we know them. The names on those picks, while largely unknown and forgotten today, were all top-level musicians in their time. Among collectors, picks bearing their name are held in the same or greater esteem as impressed Gibson picks. As one collector put it, they are the Jimi Hendrixes of their time. Those curious to investigate further will find their full names listed as Frank Bradbury, M.J. Schiedelmeyer, Gene Autry, George Barnes, Herbert Forrest Odell, and Samuel Siegel. Photo C. Vibratone. Brand name exclusive to St. Louis Music Co., a large Midwest distributor established in 1922. Mandolin pick on wide-banded tortoise celluloid. Radio Star. A mandolin pick impressed on 1930s Army Brown celluloid, a type used exclusively by D'Andrea. Advertised in 16 models. Why a radio star? Because that was the pinnacle in entertainment achievement in the 1920s and 30s. There were no TV stars. Doro. A brand name of Bugleisen and Jacobson, a New York musical instrument distributor. Among the instruments they distributed were the Salvatore de Duro violins. So here we have a banjo guitar pick named in honour of a violin maker. Wilklar. Musical instrument wholesaler established in 1925. Unknown city. Their bread and butter was instruments. Most likely this pick was produced to herald their arrival in 1926, as is the case with many startups. Red Arrow. Advertised in 24 models. Mandolin pick on wide-banded tortoise celluloid style. Distributed by Mills Music of NYC. Irving Mills owned a publishing company and recording studio in NYC that Eddie Lang was part of. He promoted the careers of many famous musicians including Benny Goodman. Among the other picks he sold, Radio Star. The historical significance and interconnectedness of so many in the music business becomes clear when you consider Mills Music, Eddie Lang and D'Andrea Pick Company were all in NYC at the time. Photo D. Lang and Razor. Eddie Lang, 1902 to 1933, a top jazz player in his day, endorsed Gibson and played an L4 and an L5. Joe Pass considered him one of 3 great jazz guitar innovators. Henry Reiser, 1896 to 1965, a well-respected banjo player who backed other artists such as Bing Crosby and Peggy Lee, penned books on guitar, ukulele and banjo playing. Both artists are found in Gibson catalogues from the 1930s, intermingled among Gibson picks. Photo E. All three represent large musical instrument wholesalers and publishers. The oldest is the Ditson of Boston, Massachusetts, circa 1893, verified via a celluloid pickguard on an 1893 Howard mandolin. The B&J mandolin pick, circa 1925. Like the Cristofaro, it advertises the city of origin right on the pick. Currently the only two impressed picks I am aware of to do so. Lastly, at the top, is a Bruno on early tiger-striped celluloid, impressed on a trapezoid shape, circa 1940. The US had abandoned use of this shape in the late 1940s, but it was picked up and copied by the Japanese, and saw commercial use again starting in the 1950s, namely by Herco as part of their cabinet assortment of 15 different shapes. Photo F omitted from article. Photo G. Mayflower circa 1920. And not the sterile commercial representation as the word Mayflower. The former was used by Harry J. Flower in honour of his daughter May for the mandolins he sold around 1900. Later both Lion and Healy and Wurlitzer would lay claim to the name for use as a mandolin brand. You may note the M and F are both capitalised and slightly separated, denoting a proper name. The Warner pick is lacking catalogue proof of origin, but there was a luthier in the 1920s by the name of James Luck Warner, who is the best guess for now. Photo H. Rarely seen Martin and Gretsch impressed logos. An earlier version of Martin appears with the CF Martin logo. There are no known versions of an earlier Gretsch. Photo I. The middle white US mandolin pick shows the round Wurlitzer trademarked logo. Howard was the oldest son of owner Rudolph and succeeded him as president. The 1915 Wurlitzer catalogue advertises the Howard mandolin pick as number 2472. Though not apparent in the photo, the printing is in amazing detail, sharp and clear. The smallest semi-curved font below Howard reads, "The W&H Co. Newark, NJ." If that is the identity of the company who made the pick for Wurlitzer, they weren't sharing their print technology with anyone else in the pick business, as 35 years would pass before printing on picks would become popular. The bosun and atlas on either end of the photo were styles that the Germans co-opted. But why not? The French stand as the first great innovators of picks at the turn of the 20th century. The fact that they successfully used gold print on a pick 20 years ahead of the US is no surprise. Photo J. In and of themselves, one would be hard-pressed to identify these as guitar picks, save for the fact images appear on the actual patents. A wire pick was eventually patented in the US over 60 years later. This metal English pick was known to me for over 10 years after having completed patent searches with the USTPO and European Patent Office in 1999. I was amazed to find this one among other picks in a group of picks online. The middle 3-blade pick closes into one or splays out into 3. The Germans also made the same style pre-World War II. The 2-tiered Caron on the right was produced in a quantity of 10,000 and distributed out of Orange County, California by Rickenbacker, as inventor Conrad Caron, deceased, explained to me in an interview. It separates in half and can be adapted to hold multiple tips. This adaptation was not marketed, however, and he kept it among his other pre-patent prototypes. Conclusion. Considering the picks shown for this article represent less than 3% of the collection they were drawn from, you get an idea of just how many different kinds of vintage picks there are. Previously unknown vintage models keep surfacing every year both in catalogues and as real examples. Details of the picks shown here are far more expansive than space would allow for this article, and for those newly exposed to this hidden world, just looking at them for now is sufficient for apperception. I had done just that for my first 5 years as a collector. Once I began investigating their history, though, I became equally fascinated by their background, place in time and history, and relation to one another. While a vintage guitar collector's first priority may be to match a correct period pick with their vintage guitar, having a Jura, Unusual vintage grip, or any other vintage pick for that matter, as a complement to the name brand piece, would certainly stand out in an accessories compartment of a case, once displayed. Some guitar collectors have already started collecting vintage picks, as their interest peaked after being exposed to the previously unknown world of something once considered meaningless beyond its function, to pluck a string.